What is good, my fellow vapors? Welcome back here to the Vapor Realm. I, Clifford, am your guide, and as always, I am so happy that you guys are here with me, and especially because we are looking at a very awesome clearomizer for this installment. We're going to be checking out the Aspire Nautilus. Yeah. She's a big mother of a tank, and she's a bad mother of a tank. So let me take a vape off it real quick just to show you the awesome power of this thing, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, that's off a clearomizer, guys. And this is not some 100% VG juice either. This is a 50-50, nothing special, and it's just putting out. Woo! So, the Aspire Nautilus. As you can see, I don't have the glass tank that it comes with. It comes with a very all-clear glass tank that looks really big, really nice. It's got some shiny, silvery letters that say Aspire Nautilus on it. It's got some gradient markings for your 5 ml capacity. And it looks really clean and nice, and I really like the glass tank that it comes with. But it's really, really fragile. It's the same shape as this stainless steel tank is, and as you can see there's a bevel right here, and that just makes it very, very delicate and unprotected. And so, literally the day after I bought my Aspire, my Nautilus, I'm like sitting here vaping, like probably right here, and drop it from sitting, so I'm not dropping it from very high, and fell, boom, shattered instantly. I was super, super sad and did not want to go buy another like $40 full set for another Aspire. And so I looked online for some replacement tank sections. At that point in time, Aspire was only making glass replacement tank sections, and I'm clumsy as fuck, so I knew I was going to break another one of those. So looked for some stainless steel sections and found a guy on eBay who was machine cutting his own like third-party Aspire stainless steel tank sections, and this one just came like this. He had several different designs to choose from, and I just went with this plain grooved one, kind of like the minimal look of that. And so this was working great for a while, but then a couple weeks later I saw that Aspire came out with their own stainless steel tank section, and the one that I bought off eBay has kind of a brushed finish, and doesn't really match as well with all of this shiny polished stainless steel. But the tank section from Aspire is also polished, and so it goes together very well with all of this. The letters are engraved in there, and it's a not super deep but pretty deep engraving. They're not going to go anywhere, and they're like blacked. The letters are like blacked out too, and it just looks super clean. It doesn't say Nautilus on it, it just says Aspire, and that's fine. It looks really cool. The grooves on here are not blacked out. Let's see if I can get, yeah, so you can see those are just plain stainless steel, but the letters are blacked and they just look so nice. But yeah, just that glass section looks really nice, but it's just too delicate. Compared to something like the Pro Tank that also has a Pyrex glass tank section, it's got metal on both sides, and it's not protruding out anywhere, so this can fall and drop and it's going to be okay, relatively. But this one, the Aspire is so heavy, and especially on the MVP makes it even heavier, that dropping it, like, it's just gonna break. And so I would highly recommend getting one of these stainless steel tank sections. I think these are both about 15 bucks. I got this off of eBay, and this came from, like, I think myvaporstore.com is where I got this. I think it was also about 15 bucks, so I would highly recommend that if you're maybe half as clumsy as I am, because I've dropped this quite a few times, and now it's just a tank. I mean, there's no glass in here now. This is all stainless steel, so this can't really break too much after that. But let me take another puff on here, and then we'll give it some little bit of an uppy closey time. Just delicious. So let's take this off of here. It's a pretty large tank. You know, I've got pretty big hands, and it's still pretty large. Let's see, here's an EVOD. Quite a bit longer. The EVOD is about the length of this thing without its drip tip on. But obviously much bigger around than the EVOD. And let's see, what else I have here? I have my Pro tank. I mean, it's pretty sizable difference. It doesn't have the drip tip on it, but still pretty sizable difference, and it's bigger around as well. So it is a beefier tank. Mainly that's coming from its 5 mil capacity. 5 mils. This Pro tank holds like maybe 1.5 mils or 2 mils or something like that. 5 mils. So it's big, but it's functionally big. It's big because it holds a lot of juice, which is great. So starting from the top, you got a removable drip tip mouthpiece. This piece right here is connected in one solid piece to the chimney in the middle as well, but this does not unscrew until you unscrew the base, and I'll show you why in a sec. The base contains your adjustable airflow ring, and that is a really good adjustable airflow ring. Let me find the smallest hole, I'll show you guys. So this thing just will spin all the way around and clicks into place on 4 separate airflow settings. So here's the smallest right there, and then you just spin this around, and it's very smooth, buttery smooth spinning, and then it clicks, you can kind of hear that, into place, and it locks pretty well. There are some times when I go to hit it and I don't have any airflow because it has slid into that area and you have no airflow, but very rarely it stays in place pretty well. So there's your second biggest airflow hole, your third biggest, and the largest, which is the size of the airflow control ring. And so you've got 4 sizes, and they did a pretty good job of picking those sizes. You've got a pretty good range from the biggest to the smallest. I'd say the first 3 holes are all really good for mouth to lungs, just depending on how tight you like your draw. And then the most open hole is pretty much only 4 lung hits. And for me, that's about the perfect size for a lung hit, and the one below that is about the perfect size for mouth to lungs for me. I don't really use the first 2 airflow holes. They're a little too tight for me, so I usually use the 3rd or the 4th largest. But a really nice control ring and great airflow options. So now to take this apart, you start with the bottom. This whole base section is 1 unit, so this all unscrews. You've got some separate knurling up at the top here, and that you can hold on to unscrew this whole base. So set this aside. Your base has your 510, your protruding 510, that is all connected. I don't think you can pull or push this post in at all. It looks like it's just pretty in there pretty well. Doesn't really stick out too much, if at all, but I haven't had any issues of connecting this with any of my devices, so that shouldn't really be an issue, even though it doesn't move at all. Airflow control ring, you got a big rubber piece right here to keep the tank sealed up and your juice from coming out, and your removable Atomizer head. This head was built specifically for the Nautilus and is different from the BDC head. It's a little bit longer. It's got a completely open top. You've got 4 juice holes around the outside that let juice in, so you got plenty of juice flow. And then the 510, no, not the 510, but the pin here, the bottom has let's see there you go. It has big airflow holes in it. So you got plenty of airflow and plenty of flow for your juice. It's a dual coil, and the coils are parallel on top of each other, and so they're not cocked kind of like some of the iClear dual coils are. They are right on top of each other. You can't really see down in there, it's a little dark, but it does seem to have some kind of like outside filling with the two coils, like the BDC, some of our other dual coils that we see now. But this is the best coil design that I've seen so far in any clearomizer. I haven't used the new aero tanks, the mini or the mega or the giant, so I can't compare them to that, but compared to any other clearomizer, I would say that this is the best head design and the best clearomizer design and best functioning clearomizer out there to date, except for those new aero tanks, which I will get to at some point. But yeah, this is your head. I think these are a little bit more expensive than Kanger coils. I think I saw 5 packs for like $6, so about $1, maybe a little bit more per coil, but absolutely worth it. This is the 6th coil that I think I've used so far, 5th or 6th, and used all the other ones until they were done, and they've all worked seamlessly, perfectly. I hadn't had any duds, any coils that function differently. They all seem to be working very good and all the same. So they've got really good quality control on these heads, unlike the Kanger heads where they're kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they just suck. Like, these have all worked really, really well, and that's really good. As you can see, there's some threads on the outside of this head, and those threads screw into this chimney here. So this actually like screws in right there, and that's what holds together, I'm not going to do that yet, but that's what holds together the base and the main tank section. So the whole tank won't go together unless you have your atomizer head screwed in. If you don't, this just sits here. It won't this is not going to screw in or anything like that, and it'll just sit there. So you have to have the head in to keep it all down. So we will screw this back in. Then this screws, of course the head's going to screw into that chimney. So you can see there's a large area between the chimney and the outside of the tank. So this is a really, really easy tank to refill with any kind of dripper or dropper head or nozzle. And I even have some juice bottles that don't have a dropper connected to them. If there's any juice makers watching this, don't make a bottle without a dropper on it. Like, that is so annoying. I don't know if you're trying to like make it look cool, make it look like a cologne or a perfume bottle, but that is so annoying. Like, I've got to use pipettes and other drippers and switch them around. No, like, put a dropper on your bottles. But luckily, with this being so wide, the bottles I don't have droppers on, I can just pour them straight from the bottle into here and just kind of get at an angle, and haven't had any issues doing that. So it's handy that this is so large. It's really easy to fill, and 5 ml capacity is fabulous. So let's close this head. Go ahead and close this back up. Now sometimes this gap right here that I'm closing down, sometimes a couple of drops of e-liquid get squeezed out as that airtight connection is made. I don't know, yeah, you can kind of see some coming out right there. And that usually happens to me when I screw it down, especially when it's really full. If it's all the way full, it almost always happens. It's just a couple of drops. It's not going to leak anymore. Once this is all closed down together, I haven't had any leaking from any seam at all. But just making the connection, sometimes a little bit gets out right there. So I always have some paper towels handy when I'm refilling this. And I mean, I always get my fingers all juicy anyways, so I need them anyways. Alright, now that I'm all cleaned up, let's take a couple puffs off this and talk about how it vapes, shall we? Now, one of the first things I noticed when upon vaping it is that it's just such a smooth pull. You don't get any, like with Kanger Pro tanks, you get a lot of, all the heads give you like a snapping, that's not a word, snapping and crackling and popping, and you can hear it vaporizing it, and it's not a smooth drag. You can feel like juice being vaped as you're dragging on it, and it's just not the most pleasing of like vape. But with this Aspire, with these coils, it is just the smoothest pull. You don't get any noise of the vape. You don't get any snapping, crackling, popping, any of that. I have gotten zero juice spitting up into my mouth. It's just perfect. It's just smooth and not loud, not noisy. The only thing you can really hear is the air coming in, and like that's it. The flavor, hands down the best of any clearomizer I've ever seen. I should say used. I guess, again, haven't used those new aero tanks, and I hear they're contenders for this, but as compared to the old the original aero tank or any other clearomizer, the flavor on this is just spectacular. I mean, like, comparable to like some rebuildables. Like, it is that good. I've had juices that I've had in other tanks, and I put them in here, and they taste different and better, getting different nuances out of them. So, I mean, for juice junkies, this just really gives you all that your juice has to offer for a clearomizer. So that is just absolutely great. That's the vape that this thing gives is why it is so good. The capacity is great, the looks are cool, but the vape is just outstanding. Just so good. And, you know, even doing mouth to lungs, you still get quite a lot of vapor. Here, I'll do one of those. I mean, this is just fabulous. And, you know, so the more open your airflow is, the more vapor you're going to get, because you just got more air going in and it's all being turned into vapor. But slightly less flavor. So if you close it off a little bit, you get a little bit more flavor, a little bit less vapor. But just outstanding. I'm kind of rambling on at this point. I could tell you more about how awesome this thing is, but I'd probably just be repeating myself at that point. But really, really just a great clearomizer. Bottom dual coil. The heads, they're really good. They come great. You don't really need to rebuild them to get all you can out of it, but you can rebuild them. I've tried once, and it was the only time I've rebuilt like a pre-made head as opposed to doing a rebuildable, and I didn't really notice a whole lot of difference. It kind of vaped pretty much the same. I did a single micro coil, and so maybe that was just because I had a shitty build. I know Rip Trippers has a tutorial on how to rebuild the heads if you want to try that. With his build, he said it was working better. Mine wasn't. That was probably just me, but you can rebuild them, and they're not too difficult to rebuild. So you can watch his video if you want to see how to do that. But just out of the box, they work great. And so that's, you know, fabulous. But I'm going to take off with one last vape, guys. Again, as always, I really appreciate all of my viewers. And please go check out some of my other videos. You know, subscribe if you want to keep catching up with some new stuff. I will be putting out more and more videos. If there's anything in particular you guys have questions, comments, concerns about, or things you want to see, please leave a comment down below. I love getting in touch with all the people that are watching these. And so let's just keep on vaping. You know, take it easy, guys, and I will see you guys next time.